Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amanda Hara. We are following a major story out of East Knox County at this hour. A mine collapse has killed one person and left two others hurt. The breaking news is unfolding at the Near Star mine in Mascot, and a federal investigation is now underway. Abby Kasoris is live at the scene this afternoon. Abby, alarming details are now emerging about the company's track record for safety. This is Near Star's third deadly mining accident at one of its Tennessee locations this year alone. When we come back, what is new at Zoo Knoxville this summer? Please let it be an all-access pass to pet the animals.
Here's a free petting pass.
Please. A Knoxville police officer among what police are calling multiple gunshot victims at Austin East High School. We still hear the Knox County Sheriff's Office helicopter in the air. I'm trying to get in touch with their public information officer just to see if they can give any more guidance or information about in what capacity their helicopter is supporting this scene. How far, David, is this from Austin East High School? Under a mile. So we're now in the situation where we've got another possible shooting happening within a mile of Austin East High School. Casey, I'm the person that sees a helicopter. I'm like, I gotta pull over and check it out.
Let's find out what that's about.
Good thing I did this time. Pulled over on the side of the road, rolled down the window, and I was like, Hawking, a blimp. And I zoomed in on my phone, and I thought it was gonna say, like, join the army.
Sure.
It was a shark blimp floating by. So here we are watching them make their way through the school as they search for the student. Remember, they are there to arrest him on complaints of domestic violence. We do have a piece of video that we have edited that shows part of the struggle that happened in the bathroom. Officers say we believe that was Anthony Thompson Jr.'s hand going into his pocket, potentially reaching for a weapon. This is the other student that was in the bathroom. He was forced to the ground and then later detained. In the background, we see Officer Wilson being injured. He's injured there and getting dragged out of the bathroom. And right in front of him, Anthony Thompson Jr. on the ground, an officer unaware of his immediate condition, but working to quickly restrain him. This is pretty big. No charges for any of the officers who were involved in this deadly shooting involving the Austin East High School student.
An Amber Alert is in effect as that search intensifies for 5-year-old Summer Wells. Hawkins County Sheriff says she may have walked away from her home near Rogersville last night. Well, here's a look at what makes this search so tricky. The view from the air. See how mountainous and wooded the terrain is? That is an obstacle for search crews, and so is limited cell service. I am afraid for my children and for myself. Summer Wells' mother wrote those words in an order of protection that she filed against the missing girl's father. We heard our Sam Luther there asking, have the parents been ruled out? The TBI said this is still very much under investigation and all possibilities are on the table. So a very open-ended answer there from the TBI in terms of how the parents figure into this investigation and whether or not they are still a part of it. Statewide Amber Alert actually has just been issued while you were reading, Ted, from the TBI on behalf of the Smyrna Police Department. Murrow is accused of going a step further and actually sending pornography to this undercover agent who authorities say he believed to be a 12-year-old girl at the time. Some of these conversations, and this is kind of the interesting part of this, some of these conversations authorities say were happening while Murrow was at work, at school. Even in some cases, they say Murrow was teaching at the very moment he was sending these messages over Kik.
UT Medical Center warns the demand for ICU beds is still high.
And an East Tennessee family hopes you hear that warning and listen to what happened to Jack Harmon. This is a story about how COVID killed him, even though he didn't have the virus.
Stella, where are we going?
All toddlers are on the go, but Stella,
Where you want to go?
she knows where she's going.
Happy.
Down the street to see Pappy Jack. When she's not checking up on him, she's finger painting masterpieces for her grandfather.
He didn't have to work or coach baseball he had nothing else to do but love her.
But when life is so good and bad things happen, it's in our nature to wonder what if.
What if the doctors had found this months ago?
What if a few more people around here had gotten vaccinated?
Those are the sort of questions Stella's parents, Donnie and Ashley Harmon, find themselves asking over and over.
What if there was just one more room?
Because if things had happened differently, they wouldn't be heading here.
Get it off, baby. Good job. Wipe it off.
Stella's Pappy Jack is buried towards the back of this Blount County cemetery. Stella doesn't understand
Does it smell good?
No.
No.
that her pappy is gone. Jack's family is still in shock over how he got here. So he got vaccinated, but you still think COVID is what killed him.
When I had to call the funeral home, they had to ask if his death was due to COVID, and I said no. And then I was like, well, yeah, but not in the way you mean. Like he died waiting for a bed that wasn't available.
Yes, you heard her right. She says her father-in-law died at Blount Memorial Hospital after waiting almost a week for a bed to open at UT. He needed something so basic, surgery to repair a valve in his heart. All he needed was one bed.
The nurse in the CCU told me that they had called as far north as Chicago and as far south as Atlanta, and they couldn't find an empty CCU bed, that everything was full due to COVID. And so I broke down and cried, and I asked the nurse, I said, well, what am I supposed to do?
Ashley called everyone she knew, Veterans Affairs, hospital board members. The family even contacted Congressman Tim Burchett's office, desperate for help. So Congressman Tim Burchett's office, they called to see how they might be able to help. But that call wasn't answered because in that very moment, doctors were working to try to keep Jack alive.
But it was too late. That he had passed away about 20 minutes before they returned her call. I just needed one bed, like one person not being sick and in the hospital could have made all the difference for us.
Jack's medical records from Blount Memorial show how dire the hospital crisis was in mid-September. The death summary says attempts were made to transfer Jack to multiple facilities, but none could accept him due to the COVID pandemic and no beds. Blount Memorial Hospital, UT Medical Center, not even the state of Tennessee are tracking how often something like this happens. But Donnie and Ashley say once is more than enough. Why do you want people to hear this story?
Everything you do trickles down and affects other people. I mean, we're all connected.
I don't think I have the right to tell somebody they need to get the shot or they have to have it, and I don't think anybody else should be able to say that you have to have it. It's a choice. But yeah, like I explained to my wife the other day, was talking, I'm like, you know, if you don't want to get the shot, you get sick, stay at home. You know, it's just like, stay at home.
Every day, Stella rides the golf cart
Going to Pappy's house.
to check on Pappy Jack's house.
You ready?
She's still too young to understand where he is, but eventually she'll come to know.
I'm more heartbroken for her because I'll always remember him, but I feel like she was robbed of that opportunity.
We're almost home.
The what ifs will haunt the Harmons forever, except perhaps one.
What if the person who sees this story and makes a change or gets a vaccine, or what if a child doesn't lose their parent because we shared Jack's story?
This what if gives them hope that Jack's death might just save a life. With photojournalist Keith Smith, Amanda Hara, WVLT News.
There's not a lot of information out there right now to help us understand how often this happens, kind of the hard part, but you are learning some things that give you context.
Yeah, kind of troubling as well. A cardiologist here in town, Dr. Malcolm Foster, is sharing some pretty staggering numbers. In the last year, he says his practice has had 50 to 100 patients die in similar circumstances, waiting for a bed to open up in the East Tennessee area. And he says that number is probably closer to 100 and that the trend is worsening right now with the Delta variant.
Obviously very hard for little Stella and the family members that we saw, but this is a crushing impact on a lot of people.
Yeah, it's very global. Jack has a big family, 3 children, 7 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren. There are no doubt a lot of people hurting tonight.